Many games released by Rockstar, not just GTA, were guaranteed to be criticized by some people, and in some places around the globe, even censored. Well, it's not exactly a big surprise, cause just look at what GTA is all about. Prostitutes, shootouts, guns, beating people, robberies, all sorts of drugs, psychos, and other freaks. Literally a recipe for controversy. I mean, just to be clear, I absolutely ain't got nothing against these kinds of things in video games. However, nowadays, in the era of political correctness and all, some people tend to complain about stuff like that being portrayed in video games. Cause, demoralization of youth and all that. Which is actually very interesting because these games are labeled as for adults. So it's not the developer's fault that parents can't stop their little ones from attending the pole position club. So what? Should we ban everything that's for adults only because it may end up in the hands of kids? Come on, that's ridiculous. Staying on the topic of all those controversies, today we'll look at some of the psychopaths or weirdos that we can meet in the GTA games. Enjoy! This time, we'll start from the very beginning of the series. So the first ever Grand Theft Auto game, namely Grand Theft Auto. So we've got a guy named Samuel Deaver. He's a dirty cop who's the main antagonist of the game, and he blackmails the protagonist into working for him from the very beginning. And this guy is just a complete nutcase. Seriously, Rockstar totally let their imagination run wild here. His police record is just mind-blowing. Just listen to this. Samuel Deaver is suspected of cannibalism during a stakeout. In 1992, Deaver pissed on his superior's desk. The policemen also sometimes like to steal the impounded drugs, for personal use, of course. Furthermore, on 5 different occasions, Deaver brutally wounded a fellow officer. On top of that, he engaged in incestuous acts, molested people, kidnapped people, and even drank on the job. One time, he even had an anal intercourse with his superior. Yeah, I'm sorry, but these are the facts. During the events of GTA 1, Internal Affairs are conducting a few more investigations regarding Deaver. Some of them look into matters such as trafficking of stolen drugs, indecent exposure, and running a tattoo parlor without appropriate licenses. I don't even know how to comment on this, but I know one thing for sure. I wouldn't like to stand face to face with this guy. On second thought, I wouldn't even want to live in the same town as this maniac. Moving on though, Trey Welsh is, let's say, quite an intriguing character from GTA 2. Mr. Welsh is the boss of the Zaibatsu gang, and to be more precise, its faction operating in the downtown district of Anywhere City, which for those unfamiliar is the city in which GTA 2 takes place. Here as well, Welsh's police file contains some very interesting data. Welsh is obsessed with drugs. He makes them, takes them, and sells them, using his gang for distribution. But Welsh is not just any drug dealer. He likes to experiment with his products, which results in him creating a variety of new suspicious substances. Moreover, this guy is so passionate about it that he is the one testing that stuff. Not always though. Sometimes he kidnaps rival gang members and uses them as guinea pigs. And then he's got this sick hobby of injecting people with his stuff without them realizing it. I don't even want to think about what he does to these poor people afterwards. In GTA 3, the choice couldn't have been different. The biggest psycho in GTA 3 is, or actually was meant to be, Darkel. See, Darkel has never made it to the final game, which obviously raised the question, why? And if we look at the description of this character, in one of the pre-release IGN articles about GTA 3, it's not a surprise that people labeled this guy as a freak. The discussed article describes Darkel as a brooding old man that dwells in the shadows of the game. Apparently, he talks about some crazy stuff and gives us some crazy jobs, one of which was to steal an ice cream van, attract as many people around it, and then blow it up. By the way, this concept actually survived the development process and made it into the final game. However, instead of random pedestrians, our task was to kill some mafia dudes, and the mission itself is given to us by El Burro, and not Darkel as it was meant to be initially. For many years, players speculated about what were the other missions for Darkel. The most popular theories claimed that one of the missions involved flying a plane into the Love Media building, killing Donald Love in the process. Some other theories tell us that a player was supposed to blow up a school bus full of children. So, as you can hear, the GTA community made Darkel a very evil and creepy character. However, in 2011, Rockstar debunked some of these speculations. There was absolutely no mission that involved flying into buildings or blowing up school buses. We learned the most about Darkel upon the release of the design document of GTA 3. This document contains a lot of content that was cut from the game, as well as some additional information about the characters, including Darkel. From the document, we can find out that Darkel initially was the person who assigned us the so-called rampages, which are available to us in the final version of the game. Those who have completed GTA 3 100% will surely remember them. It's a side mission in which a player's task is to, for example, kill 30 Colombians with an AK in, let's say, 1.5 minutes. The catch is that in the original concept with Darkel, the rampages targeted civilians and not gangsters. That partially explains why this character has been cut from the game. As much as they like pushing the boundaries, Darkel could be a step too far that would put Rockstar in some proper trouble. Cause when it's gangsters that we kill, it don't look that bad. But if we got some lunatic that asks us to kill innocent people, it actually could have been a bit much, to be fair. In GTA Vice City, the weirdest character is undoubtedly Hillary King. Hillary connects all of the negative stereotypes. Ginger, neurotic, obese, with some ugly glasses that make him look like a nerd, and on top of that, with abandonment issues. So basically, people who suffer from it due to some past traumas, they got a strong fear of loneliness. We meet Hillary during the preparation for the bank heist. He's meant to become our getaway driver, and already right at the start, he's talking some utter nonsense. This dude tells Tommy that he will drive for him, but only if Tommy manages to beat him in a race. And that will apparently be a guarantee that Tommy will not abandon him.
What?
I mean, what the hell? Like, let alone these abandonment issues? Hillary wants Tommy to literally prove to himself that he doesn't need Hillary for this heist at all. If he can drive better than himself, then well, what does he need a driver for? And of course, I probably don't even have to mention that at the end, Hillary's no use anyway, and Tommy had to drive the getaway car and escape the cops himself. All because Hillary, most likely thinking that his belly's gonna act as a bulletproof vest or something, like a complete moron, got out of the car and without any cover whatsoever, began to shoot the SWAT team, and obviously got shot immediately and died. As you can see, this guy is a complete weirdo. He behaves like a loser, and it's difficult to understand him. For example, he asks Tommy to treat him badly.
Okay, I'll drive for you, but please treat me bad.
Yeah, this one's probably my favorite, by the way. He wasn't even able to understand a simple plan that involved driving a car to the bank, and then driving away from the bank, not to get out of the car and shoot the cops as if he was some kind of cowboy in the Wild West. In San Andreas, this one guy from the countryside with a face of some monster that on top of everything is a gimp and runs around the city with a dildo is certainly very, very creepy. However, we don't know much about him, but that ain't gonna be a problem as we've got Zero, who, while not terrifying, he's definitely suspicious, big time. Zero is a complete nerd. He runs a shop with electronic gadgets of his own making. He claims that he has a nemesis named Berkeley that he wars with using his remote-controlled toys. The war apparently has its roots at a certain science fair, which Zero won at the expense of Berkeley. And the thing is that, at times, it feels as if Berkeley existed only in Zero's imagination. I mean, CJ doesn't ever even meet him, and Zero's behavior is odd while speaking about Berkeley, to say the least. Some people made up theories claiming that Zero has bipolarity, so that he is this whole Berkeley, and that he conducts this pseudo-war with himself. Furthermore, this guy is so into it that he acts as if that was a life-death situation. Just listen to this.
What's happening, Zero?
I'm off to engage with destiny, good or bad.
What the hell are you talking about now?
The hour of judgment is upon me, and I must ask myself if I am a sheep or a goat. Carl, will you be my second? Here are some letters. I've left everything to you in case I don't make it. Please.
Already own it. What's wrong with you, man?
We are crossing the Rubicon. I am to engage in battle with Berkeley. At stake, honor and our very lives. It's funny. I've never noticed before how beautiful this time of year can be. I may never again see Rome in the springtime. A butterfly.
Come on with all the talking, man. Is you gonna battle Berkeley or what?
It's a fight to the death! Come hither!
Zero is going on as if he was about to hand CJ his testament or something. At the end, I'll tell you as a fun fact that Zero once called the WCTR radio station during the Lonely Hearts program, which aims to give advice to those who have any struggles concerning love. Zero confesses there that he does not know any women, that he is a virgin, that he often masturbates, and that he'd like to change that. At least the first two things, I mean. The host, however, is unable to help him. Poor Zero.
Hi, Lonely Hearts on the phone. Speak.
Hello, my name is Zero. I'm a first-time caller, and to the show. I've used the telephone before, but I am having real trouble with women. I don't know any. Yes, I don't know any.
Well, we all go through lean spells, you know. After a drought, you'll settle for anything that drops out of the sky, especially illegal immigrants stowed away in the landing gear. So exotic.
No. I masturbate quite often, if that's what you're implying. I'm just saying, this is quite a lean spell, lady.
Well, that's too bad. Still, after winter comes spring, and after the rain, the trees blossom and drop leaves and shit all over my yard.
Yes. Well, this is quite a winter. Do you understand what I'm saying? Try a nuclear winter. I've never even been near a woman close enough to grasp.
I don't know what to say.
Well, that's odd, considering you give advice.
I don't think I can help. Look, I'm just being honest here. I wouldn't even subject you to a hooker.
Please, lady, I don't want to be celibate.
There's a lot of people out there with a vow of celibacy, and look at all the joy they bring to the world. I'd love to help, but it sounds serious, and I like to keep things strictly trivial.
Going further, Giovanni Casa is a perfect candidate for today's video when it comes to GTA Liberty City stories. See, Giovanni likes to do some madness with prostitutes. Bro's got some sick fetishes. So Giovanni sells meat, but after hours, he chases after ladies dressed up as a baby. Tony Soprani once seen it with his own two eyes. During one of the missions, we see Mr. Casa getting into his whip and putting on a diaper, a pacifier, and that funny hat that babies wear. The ladies, once they laid their eyes on this anomaly, obviously began to run away from him, and Giovanni started running after them. And that's actually it in terms of Mr. Casa. But we're not done with GTA LCS just yet. Another character that we're going to talk about is Toshiko Kassen. Toshiko herself isn't scary at all, but her story definitely makes you think. See, Toshiko once fell in love with a certain samurai named Kazuki, whom she married, thereby making him some big boss of the Yakuza. After some time, it turned out that Kazuki didn't actually love Toshiko. He married her only so he could climb in the hierarchy of the Japanese organization. Toshiko eventually realized that her husband doesn't give two hoots about her and swore to herself that she will destroy Kazuki, as well as his whole gang. Once her goal is reached thanks to the efforts of the game's protagonist, she jumps out of the window, which becomes her unusual celebration after fulfilling her objective. This whole scene, story, and Toshiko's very strong love for this Yakuza jerk makes up a very dark tale. In Vice City stories, it's difficult to choose any other character than René Wasselmeier, a German film director who in 1984 was producing commercials in Vice City. This woman, woman, God knows, it's too hard to tell. See, René has had 4 sex changes in her life. René's also a complete sex maniac and likes cocaine, just like every other self-respecting citizen of Vice City in those times. She falls in love with everyone around her, no matter the gender. She also likes to wear nipple clamps with an electric shock feature.
I want a little bit more electro. Electroshock on my nipple clamps! Ow!
Oh god. Anyway, during the events of GTA Vice City stories, meetings with her are always an unforgettable experience, and all for the wrong reasons. She's always talking some complete nonsense, flirting with everybody and persuading everyone to sleep with her.
I will make a film like that. 2 brothers. One is a dog, the other a librarian. Love blossoms between a man and a pig. 3 swans die. The end. Genius!
Say what?
Towards the end of GTA VCS's story, René, after having completed her 4th sex change, goes back to Germany to become a porn star, in which she eventually succeeds. A few years later, she once again leaves her homeland, this time for Liberty City, where she becomes a DJ in the Flashback FM radio station. On the radio, she shares her experiences of being a porn star, some interesting facts, and a couple of strange stories, like the one in which she poisons her dog because her uncle told her to. And afterwards, this uncle touched her, but in an inappropriate way. Yeah. She also claims that she can impregnate herself. Right.
These tunes are enough to make me fertile again. I can impregnate myself. That's a talent, no?
And I reckon that now is a great moment to move on to the next part, cause I don't want to know too much. You know, I just appreciate a good night's sleep. In GTA 4, there are a couple of solid candidates, but the character that is the most worthy to talk about is definitely Eddie Lowe. Eddie is a 32-year-old man who is a totally deranged serial killer. So Eddie is a murderer that has killed hundreds of people, including his whole family and classmates. His father was one sick nutcase as well. He forced Eddie to perform sexual acts on him or sent him to school in women's clothing. Eddie, being a complete psycho, obviously wanted to marry his mother, whom eventually he ended up killing by accidentally burying her head under the sand. Afterwards, he cut off her breasts and kept them in a shoebox ever since. And I'm not kidding, it's actually a real story in the game. Eddie also didn't have no mercy for his brother. Once, he baked him in an oven like some chicken and then dumped the body in the pond. Eddie also claims that he feels nothing, no guilt. He also says that he polishes his rocket every 10 minutes. In the past, this maniac has gone all the way with animals, with a dolphin for instance. In Liberty City, Mr. Lowe regularly, just for fun, was hunting for lonely joggers at night. He often was having intercourse with his victims and often was cutting off their, well, it's better not to tell because YouTube won't let me release this video. As players, we can meet with Eddie face to face in 2 random encounters. In the first one, Eddie behaves like a complete weirdo and asks sick questions such as whether animals self-pleasure themselves. Then, Eddie asks Nico to drive him to the docks. There, Eddie throws a bag into the water which contained, this is too much as well. Anyway, something to do with the little ones. In the second encounter, Eddie is not in the mood and suddenly he's having a surge of bloodlust. He goes at Nico with a knife. However, Nico does not let Eddie stab him, eventually killing him, thereby ending his 6th story and his hunt on the east coast of America. In GTA The Lost and Damned, as it turns out, we can also find a proper lunatic, Curtis Stalker. I'm talking about him. Namely, while Johnny works for the Congressman Stubbs, he asks us one time to hijack a prison transport carrying Stubbs' voters. Johnny goes and takes over the prison bus. However, apart from the prisoners that Stubbs asked to liberate, there were others as well. One of them was Curtis Stalker. Stalker is a serial killer and a cannibal. From this one mission, we find out that he ate the organs of some poor orderly. Moreover, while Johnny's taking over the bus, we witness Stalker biting into one of the guards' neck, like some freaking zombie or something. In the end, Curtis regains freedom thanks to Johnny, which isn't a good prognosis for those who will get in his way while he's hungry. The next DLC is, of course, The Ballad of Gay Tony. And here, I've chosen a certain girl head over heels in love with the protagonist, Luis Lopez. The chick's name is Margot Summers. Margot is Luis's ex-girlfriend, whom he dated about a year before the events of the game. However, Luis broke up with her as he considered her a psycho. Margot did not like this, and eventually she became obsessed with Luis, sending him gifts, emails, and calling him a lot, which Luis ignored. At one time, Luis meets Margot next to the Hercules Club. She says she still loves him and wants to be together again. Luis, however, does not have the same idea and wants to walk away. Then, the woman tells him that she overdosed on painkillers and sleeping pills, and if she's not delivered to the hospital soon, she will die. Luis, not wanting her death, takes her to the hospital and leaves. Sometime later, he meets her again, this time with her on the wrong side of the banister. Moments from ending her life, Margot begins to call him names. That he's empty, that he's an asshole for how he treats people, and that he's the worst because he doesn't want to marry her. Margot also has a letter in which she wrote that it was Luis who pushed her off the ledge. When the protagonist tries to save her, she lets go of the banister and falls to the ground, dying on the spot. Similarly to Toshiko's case, Rockstar shows us again how powerful love can be, especially unrealized, unhappy love. Powerful enough to lead to such desperate acts. In GTA Chinatown Wars, there are actually quite a lot of freaks. I chose 2 for this video. The first one is Alonzo, who is a complete weirdo, obviously. Bro's using some ancient version of English that nobody uses anymore. When we meet him on the streets of Huang, he asks us to give him a lift to the bus depot. Once we get there, he'll go at the bus with his punches, desperately pounding it. Why? Because he thought it was an evil dragon. Alonzo will be thrashing the bus until it explodes, which will obviously result in his death. The second character is Selma, an ugly and crazy woman that falls in love with the protagonist when we meet her on the streets. Selma is extremely lonely and is obsessed with finding a partner. Loneliness caused her to completely lose her mind. During her conversations with Huang, she shares some mad stuff with him. For example, that she likes to sing until she starts crying, or that she saw a UFO in the park. She's even using words that don't exist. She's convinced that Huang also loves her and wants to go all the way with her. Meanwhile, all Huang wanted was to shake her off as soon as possible. Eventually, she deluded herself into thinking that Huang took her out on a date, and a player's task is to escape from her. And that's how her thread ends. A bit similar to the one from the ballad, and equally bizarre, that is. And for GTA 5, we've got Peter Dreyfuss. He's a former film director who abandoned his profession after one of his productions did not meet his expectations. He considered himself a great artist. The reason why he ended up on today's list is his atrocious murder of a certain actress, Leonora Johnson. It wasn't a usual murder though. Dreyfuss cut off her feet, arms, and some elements of her face. He did some very strange things to her breasts and her back, with the use of an ignited cigarette. Then he sliced her here and there, and if I told you what he did next, YouTube would cut off my cojones for telling such things publicly. After this mutilation, Dreyfuss covered all tracks so he wouldn't be suspected by the police. Dreyfuss, in the following years, tormented Leonora's family by, among other methods, sending them parts of their daughter. He was doing all this in search of artistic inspiration, as he states in a letter to a friend. The letter, scraps of which we collect as a collectible in GTA 5. After finding all the pieces, Franklin confronts Peter, who additionally, during the meeting, gives signs that he may be bisexual. Franklin eventually makes Dreyfuss pay, thereby finally sorting out the long, unsolved mystery of the murder of Leonora Johnson. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. Also, write in the comments which characters are creeping you out the most in the GTA games. Meanwhile, I'm saying goodbye. Take care and see you soon.